Hey, welcome to Horns Up, and it's another all A's episode. That means Peter is there, definitely. Say hi, Peter.
Hey.
But that also means that Mr. Anurag Tagat is also here with us.
Hey guys, glad to be here.
Yep, and this time we are again doing an album that celebrates his 30th birthday this year. The last all A's episode that we did, which talked about Tool's Undertow, we did that one because Undertow also was released in 1993, so that means it turned 30 this year. And this particular album, Focus by Cynic, was also originally released in September 1993, and that means it is turning 30 this year.
What a year for albums. 93.
What a year for albums.
Yeah, but unlike Tool, Cynic decided to do a remaster of this album.
They've done this twice now, right? Like, I mean, there was an earlier remaster in around 2004.
2004, yeah.
And then this year they did a refocus on this. Okay, cool. So we'll get into that. It's an all A's. We're going to run through the songs. We're going to grade them and see if they can be graded as an A. And if everything turns out to be an A, then that means it's an all A's album. So let's get into it. This was Cynic's debut album.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Song number 1, Veil of Maya. This song is It's Cynic. I think on this particular album, it does the best job of representing what Cynic is, not just as an idea, but as a band, what its focus area is, all pun intended, what it's capable of, the kind of statement it wants to make with its music. It's the perfect embodiment of this album, but yet I'm rating this an A. It's not an A plus from my side, but it's an A. It's a very strong start. And the reason it's an A and not an A plus is because you need so much time to unpack what's going on here. But I also guess that's why it's Cynic. But unlike, I'm yapping a bit, but if you heard our episode in which we talked about Atheist's unquestionable presence, we gushed over Mother Man, which is the first song on that album. And what that does, the kind of magic that song does, also because it came out a couple of years earlier or around a year earlier to this album, the ground had already been set for this kind of music in some way. And also because I heard Atheist before I heard Cynic. So this was strange, but at least there was some context as to this kind of music being possible. So which is why it's an A for me and not an A plus.
Yeah, it's an A from me also. Mostly because in a similar way, like I think unlike Animesh, like I didn't know like this could exist, you know? Like that's what I felt when I heard Veil of Maya. Like I was just like and even now, like revisiting the album and visiting Refocus was it just made me realize, like I probably didn't realize at the time when I was listening to it how much of an oral assault this album is like right from the get-go. So I don't think anything prepares you for that so much, especially not the artwork. So back in the day, if you were probably buying it just for the artwork or something, you would probably find it a bit mysterious, but you would be blown away. It's an A from me.
Yeah.
Peter?
It's one of the albums that you can't judge a book from its cover, definitely.
Yeah, and also I want to quickly just add to a point that Animesh said, right? I heard this album a few years after I heard Atheist. And again, by then, I'd even heard Atheist Elements.
Okay.
So it's not only I'd heard only the first couple of Atheist albums, I'd heard Elements also. That's when everyone was like, oh, you like this, then you should also listen to Cynic. And I think by then, you're like, okay, ye kya hai? What's unique about this? That kind of thing. But having said that context, for me, Veil of Maya is an A+. And the reason being is it actually now sets you up, because you're like, while you've heard all of these tracks, I mean, on first instinct, on first listen, it doesn't hit you. But the more you listen to it, I feel, especially Veil of Maya, you're like, wait, there's this element I didn't realize earlier. And I think that was further highlighted for me when I heard Refocused, right?
Okay.
On Refocused, you hear slightly more for the album. I mean, for the track. So primarily based on that, I'm saying for me it's A plus.
But great, it's a strong start. All A's. Let's get into song number 2, Celestial Voyage. Clocks in at 3 minutes 33 seconds. I love this song. This is an A for me. There's no wastage. Very tight focus. Again, all full pun intended. It's heavy. It'll appeal. Like if you enjoyed Veil of Maya, then this song will definitely help you enjoy what Cynic is even more. So yeah, perfect follow-up track. I don't think any other track on this album does that job. Very well sequenced. Celestial Voyage gets an A from me.
Yeah, it definitely felt like it doesn't waste any time after the first track, and to me like it was well, I think again I think Focus and Refocus also was sort of like an album that I listened to in full after like listening to a few Cynic songs. So I definitely listening to the album in its entirety in one shot was a whole different experience. It feels like it just feels timeless, man. So that way even this track, like no matter how many times you go back to it after however long, like it just feels so fresh. So yeah, it's a A from me.
Okay, Peter.
Same, it's an A for me. And what I want to highlight is just the guitar work also.
Yeah.
Like you don't feel like these guys are like, oh, let me show you how fast I can play, or those.
They're very locked together. Like
Yeah.
this can only happen when you're in the same wavelength.
Yeah, and
Right, and it's not a battle as such.
You got to say like both. Like a lot is made out about the vocals of
Yeah.
Paul Masvidal and all, but I'm like, if you strip that aside, and I wish, is there a Focus instrumental only? I can't remember.
I don't think so.
But
I think if you listen to the 2004 reissue, there are some tracks that have a
I need to
instrumental
check
version
that
or a
out
demo
again.
instrumental
But I'm saying
kind of
if
a
you
thing.
just listen to the instruments alone, just the guitars, the bass, and all of that, right? You'll realize that how restrained also they're trying to be, right? And again, you add the context of you have guys like the atheist and everyone else, and again, strangely enough, one of the stories I've read and I even heard Jason Gobel tell us was they used to play with like Cannibal Corpse and all of these guys. And I imagine,
Yeah, their very first tour, which was
Yeah.
the very first tour was with Cannibal Corpse, and like
Insane.
yeah. So
It's,
imagine like playing this
to
were
a bunch of
Cannibal
Cannibal
Corpse
Corpse fans.
Yeah.
It didn't work. Yeah. Okay, but no. How did you grade it?
A.
It's an
for
A.
sure.
Okay, awesome. Let's move on then. To song number 3, which is The Eagle Nature. Again, I like to think of songs 1, 2, and 3 as a trilogy of sorts because of how heavy they are. They kind of feel like one EP on its own, or they paint you one side of what Cynic is capable of. That being said, I feel The Eagle Nature is extremely heavy and it just pushes it to the limit of saturation at the beginning, and which is why the end of the track, which is this really calm kind of
Outro.
segue or outro kind of thing, I love that part. Like that's such a wonderful, okay, it's time to calm down now, and thank you Cynic for bringing that element in and letting us calm down by the end of this. So if that end wasn't there, I would have rated this a B because I thought it became too much, but because of the end and because that's the entire song, it becomes an A. So The Eagle Nature for me is an A. Peter?
It's an A for me, and I'll tell you also where they kind of start losing me is with all of the lyrical content, right? I mean, like
The lyrics over here are something like
Yeah,
maybe
and-
we can devote an entire episode to just figuring out what Cynic wants to talk about.
I mean, I have a great idea for how we'll go ahead with this episode at the end of this episode, so I'm going to save that. But like literally, if you see, right? I mean, I'm going to read the lyrics where it's like, for the unfocused consciousness, the eagle nature, precaution for a stream of risk, eagle nature, it sees changes clear. I'm like, fuck, dude, which death metal song or technical death metal song you heard with such lyrics, right? And again, putting it to context, this is 1993, so
I love how Paul Masvidal writes the lyrics. I love how essentially it's not song type of poetry, like the kind of poetry you associate with songs. It's just so stream of conscious thoughts being put down.
Yeah.
It's almost like prose for that matter. So it's a trip. Read the lyrics. I think this album is one of those which you need to enjoy with the lyrics in front of you, because of the vocoder and the growls. You may not be able to get everything literally on very first listens. So yeah, it's an A for you, Peter. Anurag, what about you?
I think Cynic invented hippie metal, didn't they? Like, you want to call it hippie metal? You want to call it hippie metal, or maybe
hippie
dream metal? I don't know what to call it. I mean, I think like Astronoid more recently, or like dream metal, or whatever you want to call it. But like a lot of these modern bands who try to do this owe a huge debt to Cynic, and
definitely
I feel like that comes through so well on the Eagle Nature. Whether you listen to lyrics, whether you listen to how the song flows. So yeah, A for me.
Alrighty, cool. So let's get into song number 4, Sentiment. Great start. I love how the song starts. I love how it starts building up. But then the prayer thingy, it just becomes too experimental for me, man. It's a huge relief, definitely, to have on the album. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the vocals and the delivery over here. It sounds like it belongs in a separate album altogether. I'm not expecting this at this point. So if the vocals weren't there, or maybe if they were in the same style as the previous songs, this would have been an A. But because of the way the vocals are, it goes down to a B plus for me. This is Sentiment.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'm sorry, dude, but Cosmic Mother, awaken in us thine impartial love for all. I'm just like, man, I like the guitars parts, but then like when I read the lyrics, so I'm listening to the lyrics, it just gets like, okay, like what am I
can tell it's a prayer. And I think that's what fucks me up, because I'm like, dude, don't preach to me.
You're a death metal band.
No, it's not about being just a death metal band. Like, sure, you're using the songs to narrate something, right? To propagate something, and that's fine. I don't know. I've never been able to enjoy Sentiment because of how preachy it is.
Right, and I think, but I feel like there's a fair warning itself in the title of the song, right? Like like it feels like it's something a singer-songwriter would title their song.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the same time, I feel like what you guys were talking about earlier, how when they opened for, they supported Cannibal Corpse on their first tour and all those things, like it feels like they're such an extreme metal band in so many senses that they're not here to show off, right? Like what they're doing, but clearly lyrically, I think some of that I think that's where they're doing that basically. Where they're trying to show off. So for me, it's still an A, but it's just like it just got to A.
It just got to an A for you. Okay, Peter, what about you?
We're on
Sentiment.
B.
B. Ouch. Okay, cool. Oops, Cynic. Sorry for that. Let's see how the other songs fare. Song number 5, I'm But a Wave 2. This is weirdly enough the longest song on the album, but I'm guessing that's because of the wave samples that begin the song. That's fairly long. I genuinely think that this song should have been called Cosmic Sea. Or maybe it began life as Cosmic Sea. For those of you who didn't get the joke, check out That's Human. You'll understand why. But yeah, this song for me is the samples and how it begins makes me think it's more in the veins of Sentiment, but then it picks up pace. It brings you back to what Cynic is on this album, and which is why my grade changes from a B plus by the end of from the start of the song till once I'm done with it and I've heard it, it's an A. Peter, what about you?
For me, it's an A, and like I'll tell you, right? Like I keep coming back to the guitars, right? Because, like, again, I mentioned this on a previous episode we did about the Tool thing, right? Like there are certain things you want to cut, but that's as a listener.
Yeah.
You get where it's setting the tone, the feeling, all of that in there, right? So yeah, for me it's A. Anurag?
Yeah, it's timeless stuff, man. Like there's really no doubt about it. Even now, like listening to it when I revisited it ahead of this episode, it just feels so timeless. And I think it really set the bar really high, I think. And again, like I think like most good records, it was underrated at the time that it came out.
Definitely, yeah.
And but we're lucky enough that it floated away and floated around, that everybody still pushed it to like that legendary status that it has now. So it's just such a great song. So yeah, A from me.
Okay, lovely. So Cynic coming back on to track, which moves us on to song number 6, Euroburic Farms. This to me begins the ending of the album as such. Like Euroburic Farms, Textures, and How Could I is again like can be an EP on its own, right? And it would be absolutely fine. I love the song.
It would be an all A's EP.
Yeah, it would be an all A's EP. Yeah, that's getting ahead of ourselves, but for me, definitely it is an all A's EP. All A's EP. If you were to include only songs 6, 7, and 8, fuck, we just gave away the spoilers. But whatever. Everything is World is what you'll remember after listening to Euroburic Farms, because the mash of the riffs and the bass and the drums is just on another level. That's proper scrambled eggs. It's lovely, beautiful akuri, very well spiced. It's fucking, yeah, you'll want to go back and again and again and listen to it.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, no surprise, this is an A for me. And the thing is, if you look at the album, right, it's just so cohesive. It fits in so well, right? I mean, like, I'm so fucking jealous of everyone who's catching them on their Focus tour right now, right? The Refocus tour that they're doing.
With Atheist.
Yeah. I mean, like, that just got over. Now they're playing, but they're playing the entire album. Now you get to, like, experience the entire thing, the entire cohesiveness of it, right? So I think, like, this is where, I mean, I know Animesh gave it away, but, like, when I was listening to the album, at no point do you want to be like, wait, should I stop? You're just
correct.
Like, you're just
zone. You're just in the zone.
Like, this is what we say feel, right?
This is feel.
Yeah, this is feel.
Yeah, you're just in there for the journey now, and I feel like the journey doesn't disappoint at any point. So even like where I mentioned like Astronaut earlier, like I feel like even bands like Between the Buried and Me like owe so much to like, especially these kind of songs, like, because they just have such an incredible balance, but they're also they are extreme in a way. So I love it, man. It's A+ for me.
Superb. Okay, so let's move into song number 7, Textures. 4.5 minutes of brilliant audio bliss. Just let Malone play. Let him do his thing. Yeah. This is definitely that song, right? Like, they just went into the studio, I'm guessing, and just went like, okay,
I don't know. Yeah.
Play. You get a solo.
No, and it just tells you how fucking brilliant individually they are as instruments.
Yeah, and they sound better together. They're one of the very rare bands where you don't have a superstar instrument up
on
front.
every track. Yeah,
right. It's everything is just, the sum is better than its individual parts. For me, this is an A+.
And same. A+. This is what I was talking about when I was saying, like, the vocals and all of that, right? Like, imagine now having to hear all these tracks just as instrumental itself, right? Fucking total aural bliss.
Yeah, they would stand on their own. It's an A+ from me as well. I think essentially, and shout out to, let's acknowledge the fact that this album has 2 tracks that has gone on to become band names, basically. Veil of Maya and Texture. So it's really incredible. Again, like clearly a show of influence that this album has.
Absolutely.
And it just feels like a jam. Like the song actually feels like everyone was jamming in a way.
Yeah.
And that again like comes as a little bit of a surprise for a band that plays this kind of music, but at the same time they just pull it off so well. So yeah.
Okay, so that leaves us with song number 8, the last track, How Could I? And this song is also above 5 minutes. To me, I've rated this an A because I think this is the clearest indication of the future of Cynic. Right. Because it's so signature. Like, if you play this track today to anybody, they would know that this is Cynic just because of how Cynic it is. Yeah. That very familiar staccato arpeggio kind of guitar style, riff style, along with those kind of vocals, along with those kind of lyrics, etc. it clearly shows you what Cynic will be capable of in the future too. For me, it's an A. Do check out, if you guys haven't, there's a live at Wacken video for this song, which is hilarious to watch, because by the like, so you have this, How Could I is heavy, but then it mellows out really well. And by the end of it, Paul Masvidal is just essentially sitting on stage and playing his guitar, and he just looks so cute.
I'm sure he's got that before. But for me, just to build on what you're saying, right? This is the last song. I mean, like, literally, they weren't like, let's like, okay, thoda time baki hai, or we have some material, let's put it in the end. No, they just left like the fucking end also is so great. So, yeah, for me, it's an A.
Okay.
Yeah,
Anurag?
it's an A from me as well. I think essentially because like there's also crescendo like here that, comes in, and just the fact that the album like sort of fades out and things like that, like which again like gives an indication of, I guess, like you were saying, that gives an indication of things to come. Of course, it was a very different matter when things actually came. But it's an excellent way to go out.
Exactly. Wait, what's your grade? I'll let you finish, and then we'll bring in. Okay, so it's an A. Now to just chime in on what you said, Focus is such a standout album in Cynic's discography, because it shows you Cynic at one time in like, this is one level of Cynic, and everything that came after is another level of Cynic. There's in my head it's completely different.
Yeah, there's like pre-Focus Cynic and Focus Cynic, and then there's post-Focus.
Correct.
Cynic.
Yeah, and the only link in my head between Focus Cynic and post-Focus Cynic is How Could I.
Yeah. I mean,
pretty much.
Also, like, if you see even
like the strongest link, not the only link, the strongest link.
Yeah, but my mind is failing me. But what is their comeback album?
Traced in Air.
Yeah,
like, Traced in Air gave you a thing, and then after that, like Hallucinatory and all of that other stuff, they went on a complete.
But the music has always been the same.
Yeah.
Like musically, all the post-Focus albums do sound like a band that started veering towards that kind of a sound, but it's only because of How Could I.
Yeah.
Like if How Could I didn't exist, I'm not sure, like people would have been even more surprised as to what Cynic were up to on the later albums.
True.
Okay, so that wraps up Focus. 8 songs. Unfortunately, because of sentiment, which Peter and I voted as B, Anurag voted as A. This is not an all A's album. I'm a bit bummed about that.
Yeah, I mean,
it's an almost A.
It's an almost A album. Okay, wait, quickly. Let's sum up the other bits. Production.
I mean, again, see,
this is a B for me. Like the original Focus.
I mean, again, original Focus also. Did you hear the original?
Yes,
Focus?
I first heard original Focus, then I was like, fuck, I wish this was more clearer. And then I remembered that there is Refocus. So I heard Refocus, and I was like, fuck, thank you for making Refocus. So I then kept on listening to Refocus, and then I heard Focus once again, just to be sure that there's not something completely different on it.
No. I mean, there's a reason why the album was
remastered
to begin with.
Yeah, there's a reason Refocus exists. Go and check it out.
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree on that basis, what you're saying with production. B.
Yeah, it's a B for me as well. I think, especially because we're all seeing it in the context of Refocus. So
yeah.
Refocus A though.
I wish this was produced to better abilities, but obviously first band from such a weird band, that too. Hats off to Roadrunner for signing them, but I wish that they were a bit more popular so that they could have gotten better production. Artwork. For me, it's a B.
It's not a metal artwork. Let's be honest.
Is Cynic a metal band?
I mean,
we're doing a metal or not soon, right? Let's answer that.
Is, I guess. I mean, on this album, yes, I would say metal, music-wise, but I don't know.
Wait. Everything else wise, not a metal band or album.
Okay, so yeah, artwork also. I mean, okay, right?
Good.
It's okay. It's good.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to be in a different state of mind. Maybe. Let's leave it to Paul Masvidal. Finally, album, entire context, sitting in Cynic's discography, legacy. On that aspect, if you were to rate the album as an overall piece of work, A+.
For sure. I mean,
A
the
plus.
fact that they're doing the entire tour 30 years later,
Yeah.
the fact that they're playing all over the world, Japan.
Anurag brought it up. The fact that 2 band names
Yeah.
are from this. The fact that everybody from a Dillinger Escape Plan to a Gojira to most of prog metal people today love this album and cite it as one of their influences. Thank God for like
The internet, I guess.
thank
was
God for
one.
the internet,
Yeah.
and thank God for just the metal community to let these guys not die down,
Yeah, true.
right? Because they were set up for failure.
Yeah, I know. I mean, like, I just want to quickly plug in, right? Like, I did that chat a few years ago with Jason.
Yeah, you got to
Gobel.
meet Jason Gobel.
Yeah, it was fucking awesome. And like, listening to his story of the album and just everything that they went through before, this album was probably not going to happen,
Yeah.
right? Like, of course, we'll put the link to the episode in there, listen to it. But the fact that despite all of that, this happened, and now just look how it kind of literally, I mean, like, you know, as cliche I want to be, connect the dots or whatever you want to say, just look where it's reached us today, right? So yeah, A+ for me.
Yeah, it's an A+ for me as well. I think there's no doubt that this was a extreme metal album, or just, you know, like a death metal album, or whatever you want to call it, without being, you know, like a show off
Yeah.
in any way. And I think that set the blueprint so well for artists to be in that sort of vein and
Yeah,
not be
definitely.
about, like, you know,
It opened new doors.
yeah.
It opened new doors to what even metal or extreme music is capable of. So because of that, as an album, A+. Perfectly said. And if you want to listen to that chat that Peter had with Jason Gobel, we had it way back in 2019.
It seems like
Fuck, 2019. That's episode 32. Holy shit.
Amazing.
That's way long back. But yeah, we still have it on our archives. You can check that out at hauntsuppod.com, or we'll put it out on Twitter too. That's at hauntsuppod.
So here's the thing, right? I did allude to this earlier. What we'll do is now maybe get at least the remaining members of Cynic, since they're doing this entire tour. And I believe there's a documentary, because it's strange. Off the record, obviously, Jason told me that there was a lot of, like, because he was the oldest of the lot, so he had a video camera and he was recording a lot of stuff. And then I saw on...
And Masvidal alluded to this when
Yeah,
we spoke
correct.
with him, right?
So they did meet up, they did the remaster. There is a documentary coming, so hopefully let's put it out in the universe as some people believe in. I am okay with it.
Paul
let's do
Masvidal believes in it.
Yeah,
It's-
Paul
come on.
Masvidal, we're putting
yeah,
it out in the
definitely,
universe.
yeah.
Jason Gobel, let's get you on the podcast and talk about 30 years of Cynic. Let's make it happen.
Let's make it happen. Yeah, we are manifesting it. Energy, vibes, everything. We need this now. Let's focus towards it. Haha. See what I did there. So, yep, that's it. Asmoani on Twitter.
Trend Crusher,
Anurag Tagat.
He's also on Instagram. Horns up, guys.
hands up.
Arms up.